My mom found my dildo, thinks my boyfriend bought it for me, and is now trying her hardest to break us up. I, 16F, was given a dildo from a friend, 17F, as a joke a year ago. I've never used it and I keep it hidden in a hatchet under my desk that only I know about. One day, on a Zoom call with my boyfriend, 17M, I took it out to show him. I didn't do anything with it, it was just relevant to a joke I was making. Stupidly, after the call, I left it on my desk instead of putting it back in its place. My mom entered my room early next morning and saw it on my desk. She freaked out, understandably, and accused my boyfriend of buying it for me with the intent of forcing me to use it for his pleasure. I have no idea where she pulled that one from or what that even means. She told my dad this and now they're both talking about banning me from seeing him. Tried to tell her the truth but she simply refused to believe me, saying that it isn't possible for the friend in question to do that sort of thing. I feel lost, scared and confused, and I feel especially bad that my boyfriend has been dragged into all of this. Before anyone brings this up, me and the friend who bought it for me are no longer in touch. She moved to a different country and has completely gone off social media, so it would be close to impossible to ask her to help me out. I forgot to mention this earlier but my mom made me throw the dildo away. It is no longer in my house. Update, like how most of you suggested, I sat my mom down, my dad wasn't home at the time, and explained my feelings to her, that I'd already told her the truth and I didn't appreciate her continuing to accuse my boyfriend. She admitted her reaction wasn't perfect but asked me to see things from her point of view, and how as a parent, she can't help but be suspicious of any boyfriends I have. She told me that she'd talk to my dad about it to clear any suspicions he may have and that she won't stop me from seeing my boyfriend. Thank you to every bit of advice and kindness. Things ultimately turned out fine, and as one commenter pointed out, this will be a funny story I tell my friends 10 years from now. Your mom needs to look on the bright side. At least if your boyfriend did get it for you, 1, he's not getting you pregnant with that thing, 2, he's concerned about your pleasure, and 3, he can't give you COVID over Zoom. Sounds like a thoughtful guy to me. Is she going to think you and your old friend had a thing going, too? The story has more questions than answers. Good luck talking to her. Victory hand. She freaked out, understandably, as a dad to a 17, 15, and 14-year-old, all girls. No, this is not understandable to me. If they are concerned about your boyfriend making you do something that you aren't comfortable with, sure. If they're concerned that their little girl learned to masturbate, it's just ridiculous. If your parents are being this irrational, I don't know what to tell you to do to make them believe you. Just stick to your guns, I guess, and hope it blows over eventually. My brother's friends literally bought a dildo together to put in each other's backpacks during school and to prank each other. Nobody's parents knew, so when was my brother turn to keep the dildo in his bag, my dog went sniffing, found it and started to play. When my mom saw, she just started laughing and asked for the story. They used to hide during class recess, and one time the teacher caught and just laughed and asked to put away. Sometimes teenagers do stupid shit like this, so it is best to believe when told the story. Your mom freaked out and that's okay, but when she didn't let you explain and tried to keep you away from your BF, she is being extreme. Sorry, but I have to tell you. This is honestly kind of hilarious. In 10 years it'll be a funny story you tell your friends. It is quite funny. Me and the boyfriend had a good laugh about it after freaking out, lol. I'm going to make some assumptions here, right or wrong. The first one is that you haven't given your parents any reason to believe you are sexually active. The second one is that you are not in the habit of lying to your parents. So let's go from there. Sit down yet again with your parents. Ask them to just hear you out and tell them this. I get that you don't believe that my friend gave me this, but whether you believe it or not doesn't change the fact that it is true. You asked where I got it, and I told you the truth. but you're not happy with the truth. So now you are making assumptions about my boyfriend which also are untrue and unfair to him, as he has never shown any disrespect to you. I want to have an open relationship with my parents. So when you ask something and I tell you the truth and you choose not to believe me, it makes it really hard for me to do that. I know you're my parents and I am your child, but I would like you to take time to think about what I have said and to ask you to consider the possibility that you might be wrong about this and that I deserve the benefit of the doubt. And just give them some time to talk it over and give them the opportunity to consider the fact that they might just be wrong and that you do deserve the benefit of the doubt. Good luck. I hope they are open to reason and a good argument on your part. Smile. I saw messages in my boyfriend's phone of his ex say she regretted their breakup and wasn't expecting him to move on so quick. I said in the title she was his ex, but that's not the case. They were just friends. He met her in November 2019 through friends in common and she was in a relationship at the time. They got closer and started talking every day since February 2020. At some point in either June or July, she broke it off with her boyfriend. They continued talking and she told my boyfriend she didn't want anything serious, but they did get involved sexually and would go on dates. But all through August she started distancing herself from him until he confronted her about it, and she told him that right at that moment it would be better if they broke it off even if it wasn't serious in the first place, because she's not a person capable of not catching feelings, and right at that moment she wanted to be alone. He accepted and they decided to not talk anymore through text every day and would rather just communicate in their group chat and in outings, like normal friends. So yeah, they had this conversation in late August 2020, 1 or 2 weeks before we started hanging out. So their drama and me and him meeting practically overlapped. I didn't know anything about it, keep in mind, and he didn't identify the girl as his friend I'd already met before, until January 2021. He would say before that he was seeing a girl for a little bit, but it didn't lead to anything and he had a lot of expectations that didn't match with reality, so he lost interest. I met her and the rest of the friend group in October 2020 and I swear to God I remember thinking how weird they interacted with each other. She ignored him all night, and he didn't seem bothered by it at all. So I just assumed they weren't that close and she was just there because she was part of the group. Well, apparently not. Anyway, he told me about all of this after we've already hung out multiple times together and me being completely oblivious to all of it. He said it was because he wanted to be honest with me and he could have chosen to not say anything, but he didn't, so I should not question him about it. I obviously had a lot of question, mostly if I was just some sort of distraction, if he was just trying to make her jealous, etc etc. Well, apparently I wasn't wrong when I assumed she was bothered by my presence and was very weird around him, because yesterday I was cleaning the dust in his apartment. I help out because I spend a lot of the time there with him, and I was cleaning the bedside table and his phone was resting there. I picked it up and it lit up and on the screen was a WhatsApp message from Rachel, which is the girl. Curiosity just got the best of me and I checked the messages, not in WhatsApp because she would know he had seen it, but in the notifications tab or whatever it's called, and it basically said, among other chit-chatty stuff, that she didn't realize that he would move on so quick because they had told each other let's see what the future will bring when she broke things off, and that it was a shock to see him with me in October. She realized maybe she did a mistake. I think there was a lot more, but I couldn't check everything because I didn't want to open up his messages. Anyway, it's the next day. He has been with his phone multiple times, so it's not like he hasn't seen it, but he didn't say anything. I don't know. He might be cheating on me right now for all I know. Might be talking to her about very intimate stuff that happened between them in the past, and I honestly feel it's kind of disrespectful since I'm his girlfriend. What should I do? I don't want to have to tell him I checked his messages. Maybe I could just explain it lit up and I saw her name and I could just bring it up innocently, just mentioning how I thought they weren't that close anymore, so why would she be texting him? Talk it out. You could say something along these lines: hey, I saw an excerpt of a message from Rachel in the notification tab of your phone's lock screen yesterday. It wasn't intentional, it flashed as I was cleaning, but I did take notice of her discussing our relationship. I can't stop thinking about it and it's making me uncomfortable. Could you elaborate on what she said? for my sake. As for cheating, I don't think there's something going on purely because of how casual she's with him, but reading the room when you have the conversation should clue you in further. Edit, word. You can't explain what you are feeling in a mature and honest way without confessing that you read the messages. I'm guessing you all are fairly young. This cat and mouse game was something I experienced in my late teens and early 20s but disappeared for the most part once I was older and more experienced, same with those I became involved with. I wouldn't overthink this. Seems clear to me she didn't know what she wanted so broke it off. He respected that, and since it was a FWB situation, he didn't have much invested and was able to avert his attention without much problem. However, after seeing you, she got jealous and apparently is trying to restake her original claim. That's not how it works. You and your BF now have about 9 months invested in a relationship and that ship has sailed for her a while ago. I would give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not cheating. However, I do think it's reasonable to request him not communicate with her based on what she said and that you are uncomfortable. If it were me, I'd tell him directly that you saw a message from her while cleaning and you tried to ignore it but it did not sit well with you and you had to say something. He might be cheating on me right now for all I know, might be talking to her about very intimate stuff that happened between them in the past and I honestly feel it's kind of disrespectful since I'm his girlfriend. This is the crazy thinking that leads to breakups and loss of trust. A mature couple will talk it out. Tell him you saw the screen light up with the message, but didn't investigate further. Explain how you feel and ask him how he feels about the situation. Jumping to conclusions won't help. It will only lead to more conflict. I get it, you feel insecure, and how you're reacting is why he chose not to tell you anything. For all we know, he could be handling it, well, maturely, telling her there's nothing between them anymore and he's currently with someone else that he very much likes. My wife lost her mum to cancer 2 days ago. She now wants to move our family, me, a 3-year-old and 6-month-old, back into her old family home to live with her dad. I need some impartial advice. Everyone I could speak to about this is too close to the situation. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer 9 days ago and died on Saturday night after a very short battle. My wife is obviously distraught. She is a very loyal and caring person and straight away is worrying for her dad having to live in their house all alone. While on her deathbed, my wife's mum asked her if she would move in with her dad so he wouldn't be lonely. My wife is now set on this happening. I love father-in-law, he's amazing and kind, but I just don't want to uproot our entire life we built in our house to live in their family home. My wife's dad is 65, so he's not exactly elderly, so doesn't need care. We currently live in a nice size house, nothing fancy but it's ours. We own it. My wife's plan is that we would put this house up for rent just to cover the mortgage then move into her dad's house rent free. So obviously we would be a hell of a lot better off financially, plus we would have childcare on tap. My main worry is losing a space to call our own. Not being able to sit in the living room in my boxers or just fart or forget a towel in the bathroom and just walk through the house starkers to get one. But my wife thinks this is all trivial. My wife's parents were married for 40 years and they lived in my wife's childhood home with 3 kids, full of life and noise, and now it's just the dad left. That thought is eating my wife up, and I also hate that thought, but that's life, isn't it? I feel like such a horrible person for saying that. Please someone help me. Edit, just wanted to add because a few have asked. He lives in the next village along, so only about 5 minutes away from where we live now. Edit 2, thank you so much for all the advice. I have read every single comment. There's just too many to reply to. This has really helped clear my mind. I am going to speak to my wife about delaying any decisions for a few weeks/months and then we will talk it all through.